Modern SpongeBob is bad. The characters lost their souls. It was one of the biggest degradations we've seen in the animation industry. Seeing how much critique and hate there are for the modern episodes, I figured we'd hit rock bottom already. Surely it can't be any worse. But then I saw this. This isn't just another bad episode. This might be the worst episode in modern SpongeBob. And yes, the nitwitting was bad. Ink Lemonade was worse. I even endured the spin-offs. But those were nothing compared to Plain to See. This one had everything that makes modern SpongeBob bad. Let's zoom out a bit to give you some context. Season 13 isn't just a weak season. It's one of the lowest rated seasons in the show's history. Out of the first 8 episodes, 5 scored under a 6. That's bad even by post-season 4 standards. You probably haven't seen a losing streak like this since the infamous Dark Age of SpongeBob, something you and I will never forget, Season 7. The season that gave us disasters like A Pal for Gary, Stuck in the Ringer, and of course, One Course Meal. A streak of nightmares so painful that it made some fans quit the show entirely, and honestly, I don't blame them. Fast forward to season 13, and, my god, it's still the same playbook, only worse in execution. They still torture Squidward as the main joke for the entire episode in Squidward's sick days. Patrick's still dumb and mean to everyone, even managed to turn into a rabid dog for no real reason in Pat the Dog. I don't even remember what the episode is all about. SpongeBob is still being obnoxiously annoying towards everyone. They even have an episode, Sea Sponge Haters Club, where Squidward runs a literal We Hate SpongeBob club with Mrs. Puff, Bubble Bass, and the Mr. Mailman from Something Smells. They all basically just rant on what they hate about SpongeBob. The joke is really dull at this point. For Mrs. Puff's section, it's basically the same thing we always see with her, just in a creepier visual. And whatever this is with the Pickle Bass. These episodes don't just have disturbing visuals, they seem obsessed with humiliating Squidward. Oops. Which, if you watch our previous videos, you know very well that I hate it with every fiber of my being. With a starting lineup this bad, I thought, surely this is rock bottom. You cannot make something worse than this, right? But no, they gave us Plain to See. And this one doesn't just cross the line, it punts it into the ocean. The story opens with SpongeBob and Patrick giving Squidward a surprise, that Squidward had won a lottery ticket for a trip to see Bora Bora Bottom.
But I didn't enter any contest.
Turns out they entered it for him, without his consent, of course.
We entered it for you, and only 6,000 times, too.
On paper, this seems kinda sweet, right? In the newer seasons, it's rare to see SpongeBob and Patrick doing anything nice for Squidward, so maybe they're turning a corner? No, of course not. The trip package is for a family, so naturally SpongeBob and his rock-for-brain friends will join this trip as a family. You know where this is going. So the 3 of them set off to the airport to collect the prize, with SpongeBob and Patrick playing as Squidward's children. I guess they disguised themselves as a family because the prize is specifically intended for a family. But do you guys really have to be his children? You could say that you guys were cousins. But anyway, the lady congratulated them. They even took a photo together as commemorative moments. Honestly, this was the one moment where I laughed. Not because it was clever, but because it was so visually disturbing, I had to pause. Now, before we continue with the story, at this point I was thinking that this will actually be a funny episode. The 3 of them going on a trip in a plane is definitely going to be chaos, as we all know, but seeing the title of the episode, Plain to See, I was expecting something like Club SpongeBob. The episode where the 3 of them got catapulted into a wild forest. So they had to go through many hardships together simply to survive. That episode was one of the best in this show, and my personal favorite too, so my hopes were high for this one. But it didn't take long before my blind expectation was ruined. Because SpongeBob and Patrick immediately became mean to Squidward.
I think you're in my seat, Pop.
Aisle, take the aisle.
The flight attendant was also being mean to Squiddy. I guess the whole town just hates Squidward for no reason, huh? Then comes the classic modern SpongeBob routine. Tie down Squidward and let the chaos rip. SpongeBob and Patrick run around the plane like hyperactive toddlers on 5 pounds of sugar. Patrick literally turns himself into a balloon and starts bouncing off of people. And this goes around for the 12 hours of the flight. And the passengers? Silent. Nobody says anything. Poor Squidward just sat there crying on his fate.
Keep it down, will ya? I'm trying to sleep.
Who raised this baby? What's with everyone hating Squidward these days? But the torture is far from over. In fact, Patrick is just about to start. Patrick, who apparently can't tell the difference between a bathroom door and an emergency exit, straight up launches both flight attendants out of the plane. Meanwhile, Squidward tries to hit the call button. What was that? A finger pops out of his nose? I thought this kind of gross out visual humor retired like a decade ago. It's not edgy anymore, it's just gross. And of course, the shows continue to torture Squidward again.
Squidward, you really like coffee!
This picture just throws me back to that Ink Lemonade episode, man. I hate it. And it keeps getting more annoying because instead of stopping, SpongeBob joins in. The two of them dress up as flight attendants and begin throwing snacks at passengers, also crashing into Squidward in the process. Why were no passengers scolding them? Did you guys just sit still watching two idiots crashing everything? Someone has to call them out at this point. But no, they continue to make a mess. This time, somehow, and don't ask me how, they also managed to eject both pilots from the cockpit. And who's left to fly the plane? Take a wild guess. It's Squidward, because of course it is. While he's sweating bullets trying not to crash and kill everyone on board, SpongeBob and Patrick are behind him cracking jokes.
Squidward, trust your instincts.
I suppose.
Look, Squidward, we're almost there. Now all you gotta do is land this thing.
And not kill everyone!
What? Excuse you. You caused the whole problem, and now you're taunting the one guy who's actually trying to fix it? This is textbook gaslighting. Honestly, it's abusive. They turned this man's breakdown into a punchline. Somehow they managed to land, and just to make sure we all feel properly insulted, the plan lands perfectly on autopilot.
It was on autopilot the whole time.
Yay, Squidward! You did nothing!
Huh, what a surprise. And just like that, they strip him of even the illusion of competence. Squidward suffers 12 hours of hell in a metal tube and all he gets is humiliation at the finish line. I know new Patrick is a bully and this is no surprise, but SpongeBob too? This is beyond help. It just feels like they are purposely teasing Squidward for the whole flight, and even guilt-tripping him for almost killing everyone on the plane. Imagine this happened to you. You get dragged onto a trip you didn't ask for, two lunatics call you daddy, strap you to a chair, throw food everywhere, eject the flight crew, and when you finally try to stop the plane from crashing into the ocean, they made fun of you. Then the plane lands on autopilot and they say you did nothing. That's not comedy. That's psychological torture with obnoxious sound. But wait, the punch in the gut hasn't landed yet. Because when they arrive at Bora Bora Bottom, Squidward thinks, finally, peace, vacation, sun, quiet. Then SpongeBob drops the bomb.
You want a trip to see Bora Bora Bottom, not stay there, silly.
I don't even have a joke here. That was just cruel. You know what? At this point, I do feel like all of this commotion was part of the plan. Like they were actually planning to take Squidward on a stupid trip, throw at the flight crew on purpose, hence why all of them have parachutes. None of the passengers say anything for the whole episode because they were paid actors. Then they gaslight Squidward by telling him to save the plane and the passengers, and in the end, they all bully sad boy Squidward because he's actually buying all that crap.
Oh, life is funny, isn't it?
No, life is not funny. Not when you've just been emotionally waterboarded for 12 hours straight. This weary, bitter, clarinet-loving man thought he was going to be able to rest for the first time in years. And instead, he finds out it was just a round-trip ride with psychological torment. And the finale? SpongeBob and Patrick hijack the plane again to take everyone back.
Looks like we're experiencing some headwinds. And the present estimate for our return flight to Bikini Bottom is 24 hours!
Yeah, this was part of their plan since the beginning. I'm convinced now. This is how the episode ends. Just more loud, dumb chaos, and the show patting itself on the back like it did something clever. This episode is a case study in how to absolutely butcher everything that made classic SpongeBob special. There's no real story here, no emotional arc, the characters were flanderized, and no clever setup or satisfying punchline. Just loud noises, random cruelty, and non-stop humiliation of a character we're supposed to care about. And yes, it's technically well animated. The colors are vibrant, the motion is fluid, there are 1,000 expressions per second, but none of it means anything. Visual clutter is meant to distract you from the fact that there's no soul left in the writing. Maybe this episode was meant to be a slapstick farce. Maybe the writers thought, wouldn't it be funny if Patrick treated a plane like a jungle gym? Sure, if the jokes landed. But what we got instead was non-stop screaming, weird hyper-realistic visuals, and Squidward as a human, or octopus, punching bag. The humor is just noise. It's chaos for chaos' sake. I even forget what this is all about right after watching the episode. You see, I did briefly mention the Club SpongeBob episode at the start. Do you know what makes that episode so good? Some of the best episodes in the show, like Idiot Box, Band Geeks, and Club SpongeBob, all have one thing in common. They all utilize the dynamic relationship between SpongeBob, Patrick, and Squidward to their best. Those episodes showcase each character's different ideology and traits. Silly SpongeBob being too naive and optimistic towards everyone, Squidward as the pessimistic and grounded character, and Patrick being the sweet, dumb, ride-or-die friend who is always in for the adventure. Put them in unique situations like catapulted into deep forest with no supplies, and you get yourself a magic adventure. The show was at its best when the plot was unpredictable. When the gag and the plot were so well written, it didn't give a chance for the character to become brainless. Those early episodes were good because it had moments where the characters had intellect and actually interacted with each other to try to solve the problem. In this episode, SpongeBob doesn't even have a single frame where he's actually trying to help Squidward to solve anything. Remember Band Geeks, when grumpy Squidward tries to prove himself to Squilliam? SpongeBob and everyone steps up with his goofy yet sincere support, and Patrick doing whatever this is.
Is mayonnaise an instrument?
Or the camping episode, where they all sing around a campfire, get attacked by a sea bear, and for once, Squidward joins in the chaos. But it makes sense. Now fast forward to Plain to Sea, none of that is here. Classic SpongeBob gave us characters reacting to the world. Modern SpongeBob just feels like it's reacting to itself. They're not even bothering to put in some actual characters. Patrick is now purposefully torturing Squidward. SpongeBob goes along with Patrick and becomes a smiling sadist. And Squidward? He's just a punching bag for the whole episode. For all that Squidward has been through, this man deserves a vacation. Instead, he gets plain trauma, emotional abuse, and the same disrespect the writers keep giving him every season post-season 4. Plain to Sea is the worst kind of SpongeBob episode. It doesn't just miss the mark, it forgets what the target even was. It's loud, mean-spirited, ugly, and lazy. But what irritates me the most is that this episode could be good if they actually put some writing into it. Let's imagine the same setup. SpongeBob and Patrick win a trip for Squidward, but instead of becoming his illegitimate children, what if they actually tried to give him a real break? They try to take care of Squidward, and not accidentally hurt him in the process. Then somewhere along the way, the plane does run into trouble, like crashing into the sea, and for once, they all have to work together to survive in the open seas. Make Patrick dumb but helpful. Make SpongeBob optimistic but clumsy. Give Squidward a moment of peace before the chaos hits. Build to the disaster instead of starting with it. Boom! Now you've got an episode worthy to be called Plain to Sea. And look, if you genuinely enjoy this newer SpongeBob style, I respect that. Seriously. You like what you like. You're not wrong for that. But if you grew up with the golden era of SpongeBob, with smart writing, memorable stories, and actual emotional range, this feels like watching your favorite band come back 20 years later with 0 of the original members and no understanding of what made the music special. It just hurts. And Squidward? I know you're fictional, but man, you deserve better. Much better. So yeah, Plain to Sea is everything wrong with modern SpongeBob packed into 11 minutes of suffering. If Squidward ever writes a memoir, this episode is the traumatic flashback chapter. But hey, we've seen the worst. Next time, we're diving into something way different. Because I've been digging into one of the weirdest mysteries in SpongeBob history, and I'm actually going to solve it. You know it, the creepy one with Stone? That people said it was the true ending of SpongeBob? Yeah, Next episode, the creepiest SpongeBob episode finally solved. It's real, it's weirder than you remember, and what actually happened is unbelievable. I'll see you there.